I like when I did the Ric Flair roast, they had the roast was Friday night, and then Saturday they had like a Comic Con for wrestlers, and it's brutal. You fly in from wherever you live, you got to wake up at 7, 8 in the morning, do interviews, and then you got to stay at a table all day and sign pictures and act happy. I mean, it's kind of exhausting. So I, could understand why someone like Roddy at 61 would, yeah, I'll just do a podcast in Beverly Hills. I'll go home. I'll make as much money on this podcast as I would flying to Jacksonville for the weekend to meet thousands of fans, which sounds cool, and it is, because the fans love them. And it's like the fans loved, Lex Luger had a line out the door, and Jeff Jarrett had a line that was insanely long. And I know wherever Sting goes, his lines are always real long, but it is exhausting, smiling and shaking hands and posing, and so I'm not saying Roddy died because he couldn't do the podcast anymore, but I think it helped speed his process up of passing away.
It's funny you said that about long lines, because I heard that exact same thing about Scott Hall.
Well, I don't know what kind of lines you're talking about, but it's even Virgil had a line of like 7 kids he was trying to sell a phone app to. So but I mean, you make money during your podcast. I don't really make much on mine, but I do get free hockey gear, so there's that.
Well, let's put it like this: when I go buy the breakfast from Subway, I don't always wait for my change.
Right. You tip. You give the girl a tip. So and now with Patreon and stuff like that, you can you can make money and not leave your house. So I think it's a godsend for wrestlers who are older. Someone like Brian Knobbs, who I became good friends with at the Flair roast. He's not the most mobile of guys. The Z-Man is here.
What's up?
What is up, Chad? We've been joined by the beautiful, the talented, and the head of hair that makes all the ladies cry, Chad Zumock. Chad, what is up?
What's going on, Hughezy? Earl Skakel, inappropriate Earl. I mean, look at Earl. He looks like he should be on the set of Nighthawks with that hat on.
I can't turn a podcast on these days without Zumock either being on it or being talked about. He's like the new podcast heel.
Yeah.
Literally every podcast I listen to, you're a subject on it. I love it.
Yeah, Earl looks like the Tulsa King, where I just look like I've been at Burger King. Get it, guys?
Hello.
See, is this thing on?
Earl looks like he should be going head to head with Rutger Hauer in 1981 on a bridge.
Now, I'm right now. This is my Kenny Omega look. The shave. I should have sunglasses on, but
and then blood coming from your anus, allegedly. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Well, I've had hemorrhoids, so it can't happen.
Yeah, that's my excuse too. The timing of the Z-Man is shocking, because genuinely the next comment, or the next question, I should say, just so happens to be about the feud of the moment. Big Dog Kevin Brennan versus Anthony the Ant-Man Cumia. Now, I gotta be honest with you, I'm big fans of both of them, but personally, this one, and before Chad came on, we were just talking about Roddy Piper. I used to do a show with them. Earl was a big fan of it. I called him for liking it, and but I think that this Brennan thing, from my perspective, and I'm very interested to hear Chad's take. This one seems a little bit forced to me in a way, simply because I think that Brennan has a point in that, like, that's not a lot of money to do all that traveling for, but he gets super fucking annoyed about it. Like, it's not like It's not like Cumia said he was going to fuck his wife's tits into oblivion or anything like that.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, I thought, yeah, can we quote you on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he's going to bang her in the anus with no mercy.
I just love hearing you say anus. It's anus.
Yeah, well, I was going to call it fart box, but don't want to lower the tone. But we're three classy guys here.
Well, since I hijacked Earl's interview, let him go first, and I'll wait. I'll come in and I'll come through the back.
Oh, that sounds dirty.
Well, I mean, I see both sides of the argument here. I mean, in general, I don't think podcast guests get paid. I've certainly never. I'm not putting myself on Cumia's level, but I've never paid anyone, and I've gotten some pretty big celebrities on the pod. But I also see Kevin's point of, hey, I'm driving tolls, taking time off picking up my kids from school, and but I also see Cumia's platform of, hey, I'm giving you a huge audience, so it's. But I think, and Chad can speak to this more than I can, it seemed Kevin thought he was almost more of a co-host than a guest. So, there might have been some blurred lines of communication of what his role was. Are you just a guest coming in, hanging out for a few hours, or are you helping me co-host today? And so I don't know what was said between Cumia and Kevin. Like, Chad probably knows. So that's my take. I'm not really picking a side because I don't know what was said.
I actually have audio of what was said behind the scenes, if you'd like to hear.
Yeah, sure.
It's played here. It goes, "You said that you were going to fuck my wife's tits into oblivion." And he said it right there. I just played it, so there's no way I'm lying. But Chad, what do you think about what the Earl Daddy said?
I think, okay, here's what happened. This is I know Kevin. I know him well. Basically,
what's his surname then, if you know him so well?
Kevin knows his value as a performer, a personality, and he looks at that network. And if you want to just go by credits and credits alone, he has more credits than anybody on that network next to Cumia. And he sees what he's paying Gino, he sees what he's paying Chrissy, Bill Schultz, and he never got the respect in his mind that he deserved at that network. He only got 2 days a week with Burning Bridges, and not only did they bring him back, they bring him back for half the money that he was making before, and he knows how much he pays those other people, so it bothers him, and he knows the entertainment value that he brings to the station. And I remember looking at the numbers back in the day, he was the second most watched show on the network, next to Cumia. So he probably got annoyed knowing that. And then when E-Rock lowballed him, which he did, said, I'll give you $100 to come host his show. Host it. Not co-host, not a guest. Host it. So he took that as a slap in the face. He already hates E-Rock. And E-Rock already came out and said to me, and he can lie all he wants, as long as I'm here running the network, Kevin Brennan will never have a show. Period. Rack me.
Why does Brennan have a problem with E-Rock, who I hilariously at Christmas called him E-Rocking around the Christmas tree? It took me 4 days to come up with that pun.
Did it take you 4 more to get rid of it?
Oh, you burned me, and I'm going to feel that one for months.
What's roast?
E-Rock's a shady radio guy. He's like every middle management I've ever met, like programmed. They're all shady. They'll do whatever they have to do to get ahead. They'll throw anybody under the bus to move forward. I know E-Rock. I've known him for a while, and he's always been that way. He talks behind people's back. He's a gossiper. He's the same fucking guy, but it sucks because Anthony has a bunch of fucking goons running his network, and he doesn't realize it. Sorry, Earl.
No, I mean, this is going to sound crazy, but I was always a Stern guy.
Same.
I'm an LA guy, so my exposure to Stern was Saturday nights, WOR. Me and my friends would literally not go out until we watched the Stern show. And then Stern came to a station out here called KLSX, which is a big FM radio station. So I've actually never listened to one Opie and Anthony show, and it's not a knock on them. Once Stern went to XM radio and then Sirius. And Jackie left. I never really listened to Stern anymore. And I never gave Opie and Anthony a try, even though it seems like from the clips I watch of Cumia, I probably would have liked them. But, so I'm actually kind of new to Cumia in terms of his presence on the radio or podcasting.
Well, they were more of an East Coast show anyway, like the New York tri-state area. That was like their kind of stomping grounds. That's where they kind of Philly. So that makes perfect sense. I was a Stern guy too. I was late to the game on Opie and Anthony.
But I mean, I've never even listened. I've never heard one segment of Opie and Anthony, just because, being an LA guy, especially before XM radio, I'm dating myself. I don't know what it's called now, Sirius, I guess. There was just no way to listen to them unless you had like a fucking ham radio. So I've never actually heard Anthony's or Opie's voice ever.
I think you'd like Opie's contributions to the show. He was notoriously funny and quick-witted. But I've got to say,
can I make one? Sorry, Hughezy. Can I make one thing clear?
Fuck.
Can I make one thing clear?
Yes.
I'm a Howard Stern fan now, not back in the day. Like, I like everything he's doing now. I think it's fantastic. I like his politics. I loved his interview with Bruce Springsteen. It was so heartfelt. The fact that he came in studio for it was awesome. I like when he talked to Pam. I like everything he's doing. The show's better than ever. They had to get rid of Artie. They had to get rid of Jackie. They had to, get rid of the news. It's Shuley. They had to get rid of all that to make it better.
It's the questions that he comes up with that have never been heard before. There's this band that Howard Stern had on called Metallica. They're really good. They've got a couple of hits, and Stern asked them in 2022, what was it like when Enter Sandman was a hit? And it's like, finally somebody asked.
Yeah. When he had the Chili Peppers on, he goes, did you think Under the Bridge would be a huge hit? That was a great question.
He asked that?
Yeah. And they didn't know. They were like, we were shocked. We didn't know. We hadn't, but it was unbelievable.
That's unbelievable.
I was a Jackie guy because Jackie to me is just a bitter road comic who, had the greatest gig. Any comic in the world would love to be on Stern every morning, and
he just pissed it away.
Millions of potential fans, and he was always complaining about
money.
I think it was Florentine brought it up. He ruined his career by always wanting another $300 or whatever. But it was funny to me, and they had great chemistry. Artie, to me, I kind of checked out, and I know he's great and all, but Artie was always trying to make it, hey, look at me, I'm funny too, and he would kind of interrupt Stern sometimes. Jackie knew when to, and Jackie interrupted too, but Artie was just a little too over the top for me. So
unfortunately, nobody knows what Artie Lang is up to. That's hilarious to make fun of someone's mental and physical disability. But the thing about Brennan and Anthony, which is kind of, as a fan, it makes me kind of roll my eyes, is that I know that Brennan only means 60% of what he's saying, and that in a couple of months' time they're going to be totally fine. Because I remember it was during the lockdown when Chad and Brennan stopped doing the show. Brennan was saying some really rough shit to Chad, or about Chad. And now it's all back to sucking each other's dicks 24/7.
Kevin and I's feud could have been fixed in 2 weeks, but he decided to take an entire year with me.
Yeah. But it's like what Earl was saying just before you joined. It's like pro wrestling, and once the money runs out on fucking Hulk Hogan versus The Rock, we need to get the next storyline going. So we'll go with instead of the Z-Man Tom Zink, it's Brennan versus the Z-Man Chad Zumock.
Well, I always said, I told Earl, all my influences were never comedic influence. They were always Roddy Piper. I wanted to be him. I loved watching him. I don't know did you watch his A&E series about him coming up? They did a great series on A&E. He was hated. They were throwing shit at him. Like they were going to kill him after, and he was just laughing. And I loved that. I was like, that's what I want to do. So I identify more with the heel and like all the bad guys. I love all the bad guys. They were always the best. Razor Ramon, before he was Scott Hall. I mean, he was fucking great. The bad guy. Those are the guys I connect with.
You could tell Cumia semi laid the door open for Kevin. Like he said how funny he thought he was and how he loves him deep down. So I don't think the door's closed. I mean, it just, there's not very many successful podcasters out there. And Kevin's one of them. Kumi has obviously started a flourishing network. So I'm sure egos are involved and one wrong thing is said. And then you throw in wild cards like Gino and others. And, it's a powder keg. But usually, I think with older guys, and I say that as I'm an older man myself, I think Kumi and Brennan will some point soon within the next 6 months go, what are we doing? Let's get back and work with each other.
Chad, would you say that the Brennan and Gino thing is legit? Because that seems because 1 minute the Brennan's really insulting him and talking about his girlfriend Keanu, which by the way, at Gino's age to get a girl at that age, like Gino's in his 50s going out with this girl called Keanu. And if he goes below 50, a bus will blow up. That's a hilarious Keanu joke. Everyone's going to laugh, and I'll edit around it.
And say Sandra Bullock.
Hey, see that Sandra Bullock? I'd like to have intercourse with her.
I can make that happen.
But is the Gino and Brennan feud, is that real, or is that mostly I need to fill time type of feud?
No, I think one of Kevin's talents is he can blur the lines of reality to gray, and then he'll actually believe it. Like he literally goes, I hate this guy, and he'll find every bad thing about this person, and he'll just hone in on it. And the one thing I will say about Gino, because I've known Gino, I lived with Gino, and he's taken a weird turn for the worse. I don't know if it's the booze, and this is coming from a sober guy now, that I don't know if it's the drugs or if him just pandering to the network, the trolls, but he's really going hard in the paint like a shock jock, which is not him. It's not the Gino I remember, but he's really trying to own this new thing. And I think, honestly, Kevin said it right best. Everything around Gino falls apart. Like Aaron Burr quits. My buddy Tony gets fired. That cop gets fired. So he causes problems and he doesn't own it. And he honestly just doubles down instead. And that's where he's doing it with me. And I'm not a fan of Gino right now.
See, I do like Gino, but I think that he's another one of these guys who will have like a minor issue with someone and then go from 0 to 100, and it's war. It's like, and then you always know they're gonna make up down the line. But I think that it's going to be a summer of love. I think everyone's going to hang out at DabbleCon or whatever the fuck the next big event is, and everyone's going to take a little bit of drugs, listen to a little bit of 70s Aerosmith, and have a gay old time. What do you say, boys?
I mean, you hit it on the head. Do Misery Loves Company. They do, 2-3 hours sometimes, and Cumia's on the air for the same amount. Like, there's going to be days where you struggle for topics and subjects, and so a good feud, helps fill up some time, and then you get the callers calling in, talking shit about whoever you're talking about, and before you know it, the episode's over. So, it's hard when you do. What does Kevin do, Chad? 4 days a week?
Yeah, our schedule right now is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and we do a weekend. One of the weekends.
5 days a week. I think Kumi is 4 days a week. That's a lot of programming. So you just can't talk about, Tan Mom and, your spots over the weekend. You gotta, that's why I think Chad is, he's really, he's providing content for like 6 different podcasts right now. Nobody's talking about me.
Well, listen, as long as no one's using the N-word, I'm going to be A-okay.
What's great is I don't listen to any of them. I just let them talk. So it's funny to me because They're actually doing shows for me. Like, Hughes, you're friends with all these shit podcasts for some reason. Like, they're doing the same fucking thing for page clicks. It's the same. It's uncreative. It's just the same shit where Shuli and Bob are actual comedians and they make it funny. They play with it. They were shitting on me today and I was laughing my ass off. They're all over me, but they were being fun with it because they're my friends. But those other people aren't funny. Period. They're not. They suck.
Well, I could tell you the behind the scenes reason. Really, it's that with YouTube, it's you don't have to get big numbers to have a decent income from it. So as long as you don't say or a racist term or a homophobic term,
or
can't say the China virus, they terribly ruined my plans.
You can't say that.
Yeah, you can't say that some have nice arses.
Can't say Joe Biden's old.
You can't say that the Twilight franchise was good.
You can't say Gavin Newsom's terrible.
You can't say that Kate McKinnon is an ugly who was never funny, and she's a dumb bitch who is such a fake feminist that even if she was, she would insist on being on top.
Wait, you can't say that?
Well, that's what I was going to call this episode and quote Earl Skakel.
I don't even know who Kate McKinnon is. That's how out of the loop I am.
Hey, keep it that way, honey.